Hey Eurovision fans, it's Tom coming to you from Dublin. I'm back for another Eurovision analysis video. Loreen has entered my Eurovision scoreboard with 150,000 delicious and nutritious points. We need to find out who has she sucked them up from. So let's kiki. Timestamps are in the time bar. You can slow down the video here if you can't understand me. Don't forget to subscribe. We've only got 3 songs left to be released at this point in time. And once all the songs are available, I'm going to start doing my semi-final prediction videos. Okay, so we actually had 3 songs join the scoreboard. It wasn't just Loreen. Obviously, Loreen came in first place. We've got a new #1. But we also had Portugal joining in 16th place, Greece in 30th. So we had top, middle, and at the very bottom. So in case you don't know my Eurovision scoreboard, it is a community app where people can upload their points for their favorites and then submit it, and then it adds all the points together. Every time a new song is added, all the points reset. So people need to update their rankings with the new entries and put them in. So usually when a new entry comes in, I need to leave it around a day or so. The numbers I took on Saturday afternoon before Loreen won, there were 23,500 people voting on the app, whereas the numbers I'm using today, there's around 20,000 people. So still 3,000 or so people who haven't updated the app yet, probably even more. So those 3 countries entering together took up around 180,000 points, and the majority of those went to Sweden. It was 85% of them were from Sweden, 11.5% were from Portugal, and just under 4% for Greece. So obviously all the changes I'm talking about today, you need to keep in mind that Portugal was also an influence in it too, but because Sweden had such a larger impact, I'm gonna be saying Loreen this and Sweden that. But yeah, you can assume anytime I say that also that 10% of that is also Portugal. Okay, so first of all, let's just look at that top 5. So the Sweden plus 4 other countries, Norway, Finland, Czechia, and Austria. So if we just look at the pure total amount of points lost, just quantity of points gone, the biggest points lost came from Norway. Now that's probably not too surprising. You know, Norway also has a upbeat, very well produced girly pop song. So not too surprising that there's going to be huge overlap there, and obviously the Scandinavian influence as well. If you like that Scandinavian style of pop production, I'd say there's a lot of people who both like Loreen and Alessandra. So that's not too surprising. The second just sheer quantity of points lost came from Czechia. And this is the second time in a row because they were the biggest points loser when UK and Israel came in. So this definite connection in people who like the songs by female artists. There's a real obvious connection between them. Now, in terms of Kärja from Finland, generally when these girls have been coming in, he hasn't been too affected. I've spoken in previous videos about he has a slight invulnerability shield against these girlies coming in and taking his points. That kind of cracked a little bit this time. He did lose a bigger percentage than he normally does when these girls enter. And funny enough, he actually lost more points than Austria did. One element of that is that when you have more points, you obviously have more points to lose. So I have factored that in. But even when you factor that in, Austria still lost less, despite also being a girly bop. So I think that there's enough of a differentiation between Austria and Sweden in that Austria's got this humor and it's got this really cool, interesting message. And the lyrics are very funny and original. You know, Tattoo has a message as well, but it's not really very original in its lyrics, let's be realistic. I like that Austria has kind of held its own against Loreen. It only just lost a little bit more points than the average was, but it had so many points to lose in the first place that actually it did very well with this. So that's kind of nice to see. The third biggest song in terms of total points lost was France. Again, another girl. So the top 3 losers, Norway, Czechia, France, all girls. Now, one thing I have to point out at this point is that could be because of a female connection between liking female artists. But if we look at the top 10, 8 of the top 10 in the My Eurovision scoreboard are girls anyway. So we're definitely seeing this girly effect where these girls are really influencing each other when they come in. And this is going to be really, really important for the competition made because it really highlights that when, not just with girlies, but with any genre, if you have a niche and someone comes in a similar niche, you have this like overlap of fans, and then you're slowly just splitting the amount of people who can televote for you into smaller and smaller groups. This is why being alone in your genre can be such an advantage. Also really impressed with how Spain, Czechia, and Norway have really held their places despite being released quite a while ago, because generally the newer songs tend to have a little bit of an advantage. They're newer, they're fresher, they're cooler, as opposed to the ones that have already been on the list for like a month or 2, and people are starting to get a little bit more bored with them. So really impressed by how they've really stuck around. At this point in time, Loreen has a 32,000 point lead. That's the biggest lead that we've ever seen. Kärja got as high as 25,000 lead when he was ahead of Norway. So yeah, Loreen's around 7,000, even more than that. So she's got a good advantage. We still have 3 songs left to come. Keep that in mind. We've got Azerbaijan. I have to admit, I'm not expecting Azerbaijan to be a massive contender, but who knows, they could surprise. The truth is their only top 10 song in recent times. But then we do have Armenia and Georgia again, 2 more girlies who are coming, and I think both those songs are going to be very, very strong. Iro from Georgia, she won Junior Eurovision, plus she wrote their Junior Eurovision song for 2022, which was amazing. If you haven't heard that, go listen to that song. It's very, very good. I Believe by Mariam Big Vava. So I'm expecting something really strong from Georgia. And also Armenia. We know Armenia really on a hot streak. They had the most successful song from last year, even though I think it was 18th or 20th? Yeah, 20th. Even though it came 20th, streaming wise, it totally was the winner from last year. Plus in Junior Eurovision, they came 2nd this year and 1st year before. So Armenia are on this super, super hot streak right now. They're sending a really beautiful girl who I think is going to be sending something boppy, or definitely that's going to appeal to this female bop loving community. So these 2 entries are definitely going to chip away at Loreen a little bit. Keep in mind now, Loreen's coming in the latest. If she had been in very early, she would have obviously been first, but it would have been countries coming in who would have been chipping off her lead. So let's say, as a thought experiment, that Norway had sent Prohibition, that swingy song that has nothing to do with girly pop whatsoever, instead of sending Queen of Kings. So if you took those 94,000 points from Norway, that would go down a lot. And imagine those were dispersed. We can imagine Loreen's lead would be even bigger. So this is just to show that the more of these upbeat girly songs that go into the final that have the biggest overlap, obviously some of the rock people like Loreen as well, but the biggest connection does tend to be with these solo female bop songs. So the more of them in the final, the more it's going to affect Loreen and her televote, I think, in particular. And generally, we see that Kärja has a pretty good immunity against them. Austria had a surprisingly good immunity against them as well. Austria could also be more people discovering the song. It is quite new. Their loss in points might have been cancelled by their gain from new listeners. But yeah, the more girls in the final, the worse news it is for Loreen. I think that's good as well. It makes it more exciting for the final. Some people think that this year is a foregone conclusion, that Loreen's already won. I don't think so yet. Yeah, she's the favorite, obviously, but I don't think it's like this absolute no-brainer thing. There's still lots of things that can happen. Surely someone is going to come with some really, really big staging and elevate and bring up the competition. These new girlies coming in, that's going to affect Loreen. How many girls are going to qualify for the final? Norway, Georgia, Armenia, Israel, we've UK, then France, and then we got Spain with a thoughtful girl as well. So there's a lot, and then we got Estonia with another thoughtful girl. So there's a lot, and Portugal with an up girl bop if they qualify as well. So yeah, who qualifies can really influence Loreen, whereas I think Kärja, it doesn't really affect him. He's going to stand out no matter what else is in the final, because there's nothing else like him. So for him, the more girls that qualify for the final, the better. Okay, looking at some of the ranking changes that happened. So Austria have moved above Czechia. That did happen before Saturday, but now they've got a pretty healthy lead ahead of Czechia. UK and Israel, they both entered the scoreboard within 24 hours of each other. They were very, very, very close to each other. For some reason, Israel is more affected by Loreen joining than the UK. And the effect of that is that the UK is now a couple of thousand points ahead. So they've actually gone clear of Israel, whereas before it was like changing quite a lot. Portugal's entered in at 16th, slotting in between Netherlands and Cyprus. Netherlands and Cyprus were inseparable since they both joined very close to each other, but now they've got Portugal in between as a sandwich. I have to admit now, the Portugal effect, I'm not sure as much what that is. Like I said, it's so hard. When you've got someone who's taking up 85% of the points suck, it's really hard to work out what the Portugal effect is. But if you've got any theories, leave them down in the comment section down below. If you've been watching my previous videos, you know that I've also been talking about how Latvia and Croatia's fans are loyal as fuck, and they're not budging for absolutely anyone. That continued again. Latvia, compared to their place on the table, lost a disproportionately low amount of points. As the column goes down, it should get more and more red, but we have 2 little bits of green. Latvia and Croatia are the greenest. That represents their fans not deserting them. They, despite this new song coming in and taking loads of the points, they managed to keep a disproportionately large amount of their points, considering where they are in the standings. So it's really good for them. I'm getting more and more optimistic about Latvia. If these small group of fans can be really concentrated and helping Latvia, they could qualify. I would love to see that happen. Latvia have this terrible non-qualification streak that I really want to break. They've got a tough draw. They're in the first half of the first semi. They definitely need this loyalty. So Latvia fans, if you're out there, these people who are not budging, you need to be active and get voting for them when the semi happens. The effect of that on Latvia is that they've swapped places with Germany now. They obviously had countries come in above them, but they managed to go above Germany. And we also saw that Ukraine moved up a spot as well, possibly due to their revamp. My reaction video to that is coming out soon. I'm just editing it. The other person who budgeted a little bit less as well, Romania, they didn't really have that many points to lose in the first place. A little bit of shielding effect there, Romania's fans staying committed. So now looking at the second column, this second column is how much of a country's own points did they lose. So not just the quantity of points, but if I have 1,000 points and I lose 200 of them, I've lost 20% of my points. Obviously it affects the countries lower down a little bit more because they have less points to lose in the first place. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for colors that are out of the pattern. It should be going green down to red. But if we look and see Iceland lost a quarter of their points. So that's pretty bad. And also big points lost for Lithuania. Again, similar to last time we saw when the UK and Israel joined, another girl who was affected. Poland also losing over a quarter of their points as well. And Denmark, again, similar to last time, I went on that streak of listing out girl bops that lost points, and Denmark was the one that broke the streak in 6th place, I think. Again, he has lost a quarter of his points, and Belgium lost a quarter of his points. That's the first time that I remember Belgium losing a kind of more points than normal. So, but none of those shifts actually changed the lower down rankings. But that does mean that Croatia is now catching up on Belgium and are very slowly clawing their way up the leaderboard. Okay, Greece entering in at 28th. That's pretty disappointing for them. I don't think I've ever seen Greece so low down on the Eurovision scoreboard before. Again, very hard for me to determine what their influence was because it's such a small amount of points. Okay, so that's the effect of Sweden, Portugal and Greece entering the Eurovision scoreboard. We still have 3 more songs left to come. One of them is dropping later today. We have another one on Wednesday, and I don't know when Georgia's song is coming out, but I will do videos once those songs drop. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let me know if you picked out any other saucy stats. All right, that's what I thought about those 3 countries entering into the scoreboard. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and thanks so much for watching. See you in another version reaction video very soon. Goodbye. Blah, 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 blah.